Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to stay curious. It's May 30th, 2024, and we've got an interesting space news roundup to go for you to stay curious with today as we are anticipating in Saturday after 12:30 the launch of two astronauts in a maiden flight of the Starliner. And there's all kinds of other news going on, including space history was made today with the most human beings orbiting the Earth ever. How many was that? You stay curious watchers probably know it already, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. I want to say hello to Logan Cope, is our intern from Eastern Florida State College, is on the board with ever faithful volunteer Marty Winkle looking over his shoulder. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Let me get a sip of fluids here. And we'll welcome you to comment, but there won't be a whole lot to comment about today. As like I said, it's kind of one of my news roundup shows that many of you happen to enjoy. So let's get off with that. As we're going to also remind you that we're in a fundraising drive for the museum. Here is the annual plans and benefits. All the way from a $25 membership to $1,000. And even if you don't come to the museum to use the benefits there, you'll get a nice certificate that you're a member. And, just we appreciate your contribution. It's a way to be part of our museum. You'll be in touch with all the events going on and even get discounts at things like Shuttle Fest. So check that out on our website, and we do appreciate your support of our 501c nonprofit here in the state of Florida, where all the nonprofits have been really racked hard with cutbacks. And then, of course, you got the inflationary expenses that have increased our operating expenses by over 25% over last year's numbers. So thank you for supporting your favorite museum. Some of the events that we do have to support ourselves is this Space Memorabilia Show, Saturday, July 27th, where you do have a call for local vendors, or if you're from out of town and want to come in and vend at the beautiful Beachside Hotel and Suites. That is just a block off the Atlantic Ocean, right beside Ron John's, the popular surf shop that's open 24 hours. And I believe Ron John's, I heard, had more stickers around the world than any other. They give away 1 million bumper stickers a year. But vendor tables $40 each, and we're getting that lined up now with our sponsors, Bid Again Auctions and Computers Advancing Education, and our main memorabilia sponsor, Ken Havicott, and his wonderful expertise. There'll be free analysis of your appraisals, what I'm trying to say, that day also. Shuttle Fest 4 is constantly getting talked about every day. People are getting excited about it. We are soliciting sponsors for that, as if we're going to bring in a half a dozen astronauts, we're going to need a couple barrels full of $100 bills to pull that off. So please think about sponsoring this, and you'll get a lot of publicity on Stay Curious for months after this and before the event, I guarantee it. But Hubble at age 35, save the date, April 12th and 13th, as you see there at the wonderful Hyatt Place Hotel, Titusville. Well, in space history, on this date 42 years ago, was the landing of the only shuttle at White Sands, STS-3, with, of course, Jack Lousma at the controls and the late Gordon Fullerton piloting beside him. Look at this incredible image. There's actually two photographers standing there that looks like the wing's going to go over their head, but they're still a quarter mile away from it. In the launch photo taken by Mark Usiak, our friend of the museum. Mark, when he was just a little shaver back then, here he is, the young Mark Usiak, getting ready on a cold morning to get the landing of a shuttle at the White Sands facility. It had to be there because of the weather in California at Edwards was so bad. But these pilots had flown all kinds of high-performance aircraft, landing at White Sands in their military career. And as Jack Lousma told me and Marty, though Jack Lousma actually had the decision to land at White Sands or Kennedy Space Center, which that'd be the first landing at KSC in that 3-mile runway. And Lousma told Marty and I that he didn't want to because he's afraid there might be alligators on the runway. And though you think he was joking, no, he wasn't. Learned later that there wasn't the fences and stuff up there like they have today. So it'd been very possible for an alligator or other creature to wander out there and nobody see it at the last minute. So great guy, Jack Lousma, 88 years old, and it's his day to shine in space as a commander of the third time we took Columbia to space. OV 99 is the tail number.
102.
Pardon me?
102.
102, that's right. Yep, 102. Thank you, Marty. OV 99 is, of course, Challenger. So 102 is the tail number there. And God bless you, Mark Usiak, for all you do to promote and help our museum. And he is credentialed to be out at the Starliner launch Saturday, Marty. So how about that? 42 years later, he's still got the chops to take excellent photographs, and we can't wait to see you and you share those with us, Mark. Well, rolling right along here on Space History, it's a birthday for Lopez Allegra. Michael Lopez Allegra, son of a Spanish father and an American mother, is 66 years old today. L.A. is his nickname, of course. Lopez Allegra was born May 30th, 1958 in Madrid, Spain, and raised in Mission Viejo, California, outside of L.A. So L.A. is the second most experienced spacewalker, with 10 spacewalks totaling nearly 68 hours. The record is Russian Antonelli Solovyev, who has 16 spacewalks, 6 more than the second placer at 82 hours. And third place is Stephen Bowen, NASA astronaut. He's also got the same number, 10 spacewalks as LA, but an hour and a half less time outside the spacecraft there. So LA is a veteran of STS-73 in 92, where he tested that safer jetpack during an EVA, untethered. So that had his heart rate up. And then he was in a Soyuz spacecraft. And then he retired from NASA, but was a consultant and was lured back as the chief of the astronauts for Axiom Space Company. And he was the first commander of Axiom's Mission 1 that flew a SpaceX Crew Dragon, shown there docking in the background. So he's one of the rare human beings that have flown 3 different spaceships, a Russian Soyuz, a shuttle, and now the Crew Dragon. And he did it again. That was back in 2022, the first time that they went up there. And in January was his second flight as commander of a Dragon. And he'll no doubt make a third Axiom trip in the near future, as he's big in their plans to help build a space station and attach it to the ISS, get it checked out over the next 3-4 years of construction, 3 or 4 different modules, and then separate from the ISS. So LA is big in the plans there. There he is in his SpaceX spacesuit. And at age 66, he is still well physically fit to go to space, and we look forward to that. Though his email's full of Social Security, Medicare supplements, I'm sure, but he's got good insurance, I'd say. Him looking there, that suit looks a lot more comfortable to me, Marty, than it does when they're walking around in it. I've never been close enough to one to see, if it's got that kind of leathery feel or what. But cool astronaut. And here's another spacesuit that we're looking forward to flying in space, and that is Sonny Williams on the left and Butch Wilmer on the right. They will be launched Saturday at 12:35 p.m. The Starliner Readiness Review yesterday, May 29th, okayed the go for the Saturday launch of this highly anticipated maiden flight. These are test pilots. They both waited over a decade to fly in space after successful stays on the space station. Sonny's got 350. Sonny, I mean, has got 365 days in space, or 55, something like that. Butch has got over 300, I think, in space. But here they're pioneering a new spacecraft by Boeing, and we don't need to talk about the history of it. It's been snake bitten a few times, but including on the May 6th launch when the Atlas V rocket had a valve trouble, and then they haul in the whole thing and find that Boeing Starliner's got a leaky valve. They're not too concerned about that. That's one of 18 reaction control thruster valves that they have around the spacecraft. So they ultimately determined the leak was stable and did not pose an appreciable threat to the mission success. So they're going okay with it. Otherwise, they would have to bring Starliner in, disassemble it. It might be another 6-month delay. So fingers crossed that the engineers are making the right call here. But maybe the worst that could happen is that thruster wouldn't work. They would shut it off. So once again, 12, what did I say there? 12:25 p.m. Marty's going to be out selling t-shirts for us. And from 11 o'clock to after 12 o'clock is going to be the induction of astronaut David Wilmer and Marcia Ivins underneath Atlantis there on the campus at Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. So we're going to see how that pans out, because I'm going to be there for that and hopefully walk outside and see the launch. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow on Stay Curious, all about the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation, the Hall of Fame, how many people are in it, and what Dave Wilmer's 4 missions and Marcia Ivins' 5 did to advance society that they get in the Hall of Fame. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. As we're thinking about people going to space, reminding you 617 humans have orbited the Earth, 77 of them women, about 45 Karmanauts. They reached the Kármán line of 100 kilometers or 62 miles. And the record ever orbiting the Earth is 17, set May 31st, 2023. 2023. So they were all up in space on May 30th. I think actually May 30th is the date, not the 31st. Marty, you're looking at me there.
I was going to say, that's exactly 1 year from today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a year from tomorrow is when the Chinese, and we'll talk about that. Here are the number of humans orbiting Earth right now. Okay. Got May 7th up there, but it hasn't changed. We have 3 Chinese, 3 Russians, and 4 Americans. Soon to be 2 more Americans going up. That won't add to the total of humans because Sonny and Butch have already been in space. Crew Dragon 8's been up there for 2 months, and the Russian MS-25 crew includes Tracy Caldwell, who's also waited 10 years to fly again and has over 300 days in space now. And then you got 3 on the Chinese Shenzhou 18, and that's the 13th crewed flight in the history of their program. Well, a year ago, the 17 humans were created by the launch of a crew up to the Tiangong space station and put 6 of them up there at the same time. 6 Chinese, 4 were on Dragon Freedom, and that was the Axiom 2 crew led by Peggy Whitson. But this is the 7 on the ISS, all 11 of them on the ISS in that picture there. And a year ago, the total was 602 humans. So I thought I wouldn't change that, just to emphasize, Marty, that in a year we've added 15 humans have gone to space for the first time. I wonder if that's some sort of a record. All right, but it's escalating quickly, and I'm not going to rattle off all those 15 humans on there, but they included I think 3 Crew Dragons up there. So that'd be 12. So I find these facts very interesting, and I hope you all do too, as they keep me curious. There's Butch and Sonny, And let's go this way. There is the Axiom Crew 2. All right. Before their reentry, they came back to Earth. I think they landed on the Atlantic Ocean, Marty, over there. This is the launch, what it looks like to launch a crewed spacecraft in China. This is their Long March rocket. They've got some booster rockets on there, it looks like, and it looks very much like the Soviet Soyuz spacecraft, though it's called Shenzhou. There's the three tachionauts that went up to occupy for 6, and then they had a swap of a crew out. These guys were just swapped out, and there is the the Shenzhou, how it looks in orbit. Okay, quite similar with the Soyuz, where the cosmonaut, the humans are in the middle, that dark area. On the top is sort of a living room, if you will, but that's where the docking hatch is. In the middle is where they go up to space in their couches, and then in the back end, of course, is the service module with all of the components to keep them alive and maneuver the spacecraft and power it up there with those beautiful solar panels. That's an artist rendering of the Tiangong space station. I've yet to find a good picture of it taken by the crews orbiting it. I know they have, but that's the communist country just lets us see what they want us to see. And there's a little look inside the Heavenly Palace Tiangong. They pride themselves on not being as cluttered as ours. They use a lot of Bluetooth on the space station there. And there was a year ago on this date when we had, well, I guess that'd probably been the 29th because they undocked and then landed the next day. But that's your Axiom 2 crew in the dark charcoal shirts, and then your, I think that was Crew 69, Expedition 69 up there. And there's what the Crew Dragon looks like. And we have 4 vehicles docked at the International Space Station. This isn't a photo, it's a graphic that's I pull off from occasion. We've had up to 7 spacecraft. What we're missing is Progress 86, just detached and is burning up in the atmosphere today. As it's the Progress, there are the cargo supply ships that have to go up, about 3 of them a year, sometimes 4, to take up the necessary supplies of food, clothing, and new equipment. And then they stuff it full of dirty laundry, dirty garbage from food, and the used up computers and stuff like that, and it burns up in the atmosphere. Now, there's the Soyuz MS-25 that Tracy Dyson, Caldwell Dyson, is going to take back with the other 2 cosmonauts that are in September. Crew Dragon 8 is going to come back in September, probably the late part of it, and the Soyuz in the early part. And the Cygnus 20 is another cargo ship that docked. That is Northrop Grumman's contract. And that was launched for the first time by a SpaceX rocket, the Falcon 9. And that one also is disposable, and they burn it up. Now, they send up an uncrewed Dragon. That was the first test of the Dragon vehicle for SpaceX, and those do come back and are refurbished. So, and a few dimensions there. The Tiangong is basically a couple school buses docked together, where ours is about 7 school buses is what the modules are. And of course, the solar panels are what's important, gives it the spread there. And I thought it'd be interesting just to, I thought, where is the Chinese space station orbiting? Or is it in the same elliptical plane? And it kind of is. It's basically close to the equator. There's Tiangong, goes over North America on this pass. Of course, it'll go higher at times over Russia. There's the ground track of the ISS. So there are several hundred, or maybe up to 1,000 miles apart in our 25,000 mile circumference, but they're in a similar equatorial plane around the Earth. And amateur astronomer photographers love capturing images of the space stations going in front of the sun. This is a big sunspot group, and that was the our space station. And there's apps to find out when you can see them. This is the Tiangong space station alert back in 2023, just to show you what these maps look like. I saw the space station the other night from about 9:15 to 9:17, something like that. Went almost in front of the North Pole. It went just above the Polaris, the North Star. And then I've seen Tangong several times too. And then there's another here at Titusville. Went to see the space station. This was May 28th, May 29th. This was a year ago. But you get the information. It's visible for 3 minutes on the pass at 9:27 on May 30th. And they have quite a lot of information on there. Again, there's the space station going across. It takes it a half a second to go across there. So this is a movie that photographers take. And as this is very detailed, you have to be at the exact spot on a GPS indicator to know how to do this. But that leads us into the sun today. This is what the sun looks like today. And this is taken from one of the observatories around the world. And we've got a great big sunspot at the top and one coming around. Left to right is how these sunspots would rotate. The sun is in a big solar cycle. It's an 11-year cycle from peak to peak. So it is at its maximum, and there's a lot of sunspots on there. At the minimum, 5 years from now, there'll be no sunspots for maybe almost a year. We don't know why this is. We do know sunspots are electromagnetic storms that are cooler areas of the sun. Imagine that magnet and the iron filings around it in the curved pattern. That's what's going on with these sunspots. If you could see the magnetic field, it would look like a bunch of waves of energy and plasma lifting off the sun and making these spots cooler. Well, that big sunspot on the left is what caused all the aurora 2 weeks ago that we saw down as far south as Key West, Florida. And it is producing a big flare already. They call these geomagnetic storms, and 2 weeks ago was the first since 2003 that caused widespread auroras around the world. And this active region can be seen from behind by satellites that we have orbiting the sun that stay, so we see the backside of it. So they've been following this, and it has shot an Earth-directed X-ray flare already. So we could have some more aurora, and they're telling people to look out for it. The website that I use is, and here's some beautiful aurora. Spaceweather.com will give you up-to-date information. There's even an alert that they'll send to your phone, particularly if you're in the northern states or Canada, to see things. This is from Montana, and astronaut John Harrington took this photograph and shared it with us on his recorded appearance on Stay Curious that we will air in a week or two. So we can look forward to that. Well, what is this? This is Venus. Venus is back in the news. This is an interpretation of the surface of Venus taken by the Magellan spacecraft and a rework of images from the Magellan that was launched by a space shuttle in the 1980s. The computer-generated 3D model shows a volcano, which is showing signs of activity now. All right. So the big news is that they've been analyzing data, and Magellan is 98% mapped by Venus is 98% mapped by Magellan during its 12-year. And they're re-looking at stuff, and they found lava flows because now they understand what they look like in this data. And this is a lava flow coming right at you. All right. The thick Venetian atmosphere is over 30 miles thick. Our atmosphere is less than 7 miles thick. It's at Mount Everest, 7 miles above sea level. You need oxygen to breathe. But that atmosphere 30 miles thick is carbon dioxide, sulfuric acid, and that created a greenhouse effect that on Venus it's 900 degrees right where we're looking here. So it's like the whole surface is like soft putty, and the mountains aren't sharp, and it would melt iron. And but we know there's active volcanoes there. So did they create this global runaway greenhouse? How do we need to understand this so that we don't ruin our world, or we can combat such a demise. Venus is the same size as Earth, almost 8,000 miles across, but it is truly our evil twin, the way the surface is. So that was headlines making the news in some of the rounds this week. So I thought I'd throw that in. But that makes us think about our moon and other planetary things. And this is the Chinese Change 6 moon lander on its rocket that put it into orbit. So the rocket there was just discarded, and it is now orbiting with its landing pad out. The red circle is a miniature rover that is on the side that they see. And when's it going to land? It was launched 2 weeks ago, but now China, or insiders have found out that it's going to land Wednesday, June 5th. It is going to an area called the South Pole Aitken Basin, which I got a picture of that coming up here. It's going to land on the back side of the moon. I'm not saying dark side because it'll be illuminated. In fact, the area where they want to land is they're waiting optimal conditions for landing. The far side's never visible from Earth, and it holds keys to understanding the moon's history and composition, because the side we see has those dark lava lakes, frozen lava lakes, and the backside has very few of them. It's just completely cratered, just destroyed with craters in the back. Well, Chang 6 lander will separate from the mission orbiter and make its descent. The landing is timed for suitable lighting conditions. Is going to land and to communicate from the backside. China has put 2 orbiting communication satellites around it. The U.S. has never done that. NASA's not done that yet. We're going to need that for Artemis, but this is part of their infrastructure. So far away from the moon are 2 satellites that are above and below the moon, so it's never blocked from the Earth. So here's where it's going to land. You see there an area near Apollo crater. We're looking at the South Pole. Okay, they call this a basin. They think this is the largest impact crater in the solar system, because the black outline is the ridge of the crater that hits somewhere, close to the South Pole of the moon. And so there's craters that are constantly hidden in sunlight and never get the warmth of the sun, so there's permanent ice buried there. Or maybe the warmth at the South Pole isn't very long, so that deeper down they're going to find water, ice. Well, Chang 6 spacecraft is designed to bring back 4 pounds of lunar soil. It's going to scoop up and put in a container that's going to rocket off the moon. And take 5 days to get back to Earth, and they're anticipating around June 25th. Okay, so when they land, they're going to on the 5th, probably take 2 days, 48 hours to do the science, which will include drilling 6 feet down, and then having a core sample that they're going to collapse and put in the return spacecraft. They've done this before. They did it 2 years ago and brought back. I think about 1,700 grams. Can't convert that right away in my head. But they drilled on that. So they did share those samples with the world, China did. But this is part of a broader Chinese lunar goals that each Chang that goes to the moon is going to have more advanced things on it. There you see the Chang 4 landing site, where they had a miniature rover on the back there for a while. So this is an ambitious plan for China to have humans somewhere in this circle by the end of this decade, 2030. All right, of course, that's what Artemis is all about. We're looking at one of those craters also around the South Pole, more like towards the bottom here. One of these craters here is Shackelford, and we're looking at that one to go to. So keep you apprised. June 5th, Wednesday is going to be a busy day for space if that happens, because Starship might be launched the morning of June 5th. It had its second tanking test today. Starship was fueled, SpaceX fueled its mega rocket again. And I'll bet little Mia knows that, because Grandpa Stangy up there with his granddaughter Mia, and she probably was talking to him about this happening yesterday, where they fueled up for the second time, a wet dress rehearsal. They loaded more than 10 million pounds of propellant ahead of Flight 4. All right. And if they get everything okayed by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, June 5th will be the morning. So that'll be Wednesday. Also, about the same time that China wants to land. I saw where that was about 8 in the morning our time, land on the moon. So how ironic that would be. China landed on crewed spacecraft on the moon to bring back some of it. This is our bet to land on the moon in the next 4 or 5 years, we pray. The first 3 Starship test flights took place in April 2023, November 2023, and March 14th of this year. Each was a success based on, but the vehicle failed to reach all of its goals. But Flight 3 lasted nearly 50 minutes, including the ship sending back some awesome videos of its reentry when it broke apart. And so the goal for this is to get one complete orbit up and around. So, and we'll all be watching with bated breath for sure, and it's a fun thing to watch, no doubt. So that'll be Wednesday morning entertainment probably, and we'll let you know Monday if things are a go. All right, June. Now here, I'm going to end Stay Curious today with something that they're trying to get everybody hopped up and excited about, a pre-dawn sky show coming Monday, all right? And it's not a hoax. The planets are there, but it's only going to happen for 30 minutes because the sun's rising and will immediately darken some of the planets closest to it. And that's what we're talking about. This is an artist rendering of what it would look like. This is what it looks like this morning or yesterday morning. All right. The planets, Mercury's moved just a little bit among there, but you got Jupiter, Mercury that you can see with the naked eye, Uranus in this kind of twilight in the morning. No, you're not going to see Uranus. And I don't recommend you get binoculars out because the sun's going to be rising too close and you might accidentally hit the sun. That's what I'm saying, is they call this a rare opportunity. It's not rare. These planets will be lined up this fall in our evening sky pretty much like this. In fact, we're doing a lot of astronomy outreach with the local club and planning things in September, October, November, and December when we will have Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter in our evening sky. And of course, Uranus and Neptune also. You need a telescope to see Neptune. I've barely seen it in a good telescope myself. So, but you will see Saturn and Mars. And what they don't have in here is between Mars and Neptune, right in here, is the crescent moon, a day after last quarter. So it's going to look beautiful, but you're only going to see Jupiter and Mercury. You're lucky for half an hour. If there's clouds like that, I don't think you'll see it. Here's another artist rendering of it. The green is below the horizon. So Venus is actually real close to the sun. You can't see it at all. We'll be seeing Venus in about a month in the evening sky as it goes from one side of the sun to the other in its orbit. But there again is another astronomy chart of what it's going to look like, except they did put the moon in there, on there. It's not a round full moon. It'll be a crescent moon on June 3rd. So also Saturn, as much as we want to look at Saturn, its rings are becoming edge on. And that happens. So when we start looking at the Lord of the Rings planet, you're going to barely be able to see the rings. They'll actually disappear later this fall for about a month as they'll be edge on. And that's a phenomenon that happens about every 15 years. And then they'll start spreading out again. So you want to keep up with the real sky, go to Sky Maps, your evening sky map. There it is on online. They have that you can download a free map. There's a lot of good information there. All the rage right now is this $500 telescope that doesn't even have any eyepieces. You just throw it out in the yard. It doesn't look like a telescope. It's got it's got optical end to it there, but it downloads pictures of the sky to your smart tablet, and you're looking at the Ring Nebula of Orion as it keeps taking 30-second exposures and layering those until you can really see something. So that's the cutting edge for the new people today. So, and you want to see the planets lined up, go get you a good book, or look at a good poster of our planets lined up for Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. You got a list of some friends there today to shout out to for me. Logan doing a good job today, and we will entice your eyes with a Chris Calley masterpiece here. Chris's latest work of art. He was on yesterday's show and talked about his career as a space artist, as well as his father, Paul Calley, the great one of the first original NASA artists there. We thank Dave Stange, Daniel DeYoung, nice talking to you today, William Whiting, Carlton Bailey, Tommy Usiak, Steve Jokums, and Robert Law all enjoying a quick trip of space news today on Stay Curious. Chris Calley said that he was commissioned by the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation to do this, representing each one of its 7 presidents. Okay, so each of these panels have something to do with the 7 presidents of the organization. They, of course, all astronauts. You've got, and the current president is, I thought of it too doggone quick, so I'm going to have to reset. Kurt Brown. And Kurt Brown was the commander of the John Glenn flight right there. So Kurt Brown's the president. You've got the other ones in there. I'm not going to rattle it off. I want you to enjoy the beauty of this awesome montage. And the flames of the SRBs, when you see them up close, are globs of paint, oil paint on there. This is very much a multi-image of multimedia image. So, well, hope you all enjoy that. Hope you enjoyed some space news today that you may or may not know about. Friday, we're going to feature the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation Hall of Fame. Have some pictures inside the Hall of Fame to show you how beautiful it is, and just brag about Marcia Ivins and Dave Hilmers. And then I look forward to being out there and seeing them inducted under Atlantis on Saturday morning. Then the launch at 12:25 of Starliner and Sonny and Butch, and hope that we've got our fingers crossed that that's a great day and a great weather, and they certainly will be inducted in the Hall of Fame someday. That's the irony of their launch happening at this event. They have a big dinner banquet under the Saturn V center, under the big moon rocket Saturday night, and then the festivities end with an after party at the Cocoa Beach Hilton. So those of you that are on the Space Coast to enjoy that, and those of you that aren't, look around your gas station or your convenience store. There might be an astronaut fueling up or buying a snack, okay? Because there'll be over 50 of them crawling around Brevard County this weekend. So I look forward to that, and we'll share that with you with, again, photographer Mark Usiak's work, as he's one of the photographers for the event. So thank you, everybody, for staying curious. Thank you for supporting our museum in any way you can. And thank you for digging into your memory of some corporate sponsors that might want to help us along the way, because we need it. So until tomorrow, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.